Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we'll be for sure rustling a collection of the community's jimmies. We're going to talk about toxicity. Now this is a complex subject and as such it's quite nuanced. For the background gameplay I'll be using a game from Freeedo of him playing with the pro player Dhak. The reason for this is absolutely central to the whole point of the video. And spoiler alert, Freeedo doesn't play very well for the first two sections on King's Row. Now at this level, top 500 and pro level, people are a little bit more matter of fact about things. In fact, I'm fairly certain a lot of you will associate being called out directly by a teammate and being asked to switch, which is what happens to Freeedo, as fairly toxic behaviour. You might not, however, do that if it were a pro saying it to you. And here's the issue. The act itself isn't toxic. If you're losing and playing a carry role, for example, and IDDQD asks you to swap, you probably would without question. But something happens when we're all at the perceived same level. We tend to view these calls as accusations, as a besmirchment of our good name. How very dare you question my Junkrat on attack against a Fire and Mercy. You are but a fellow Platinum. I shall continue to leverage my spam against their Rhineless setup. Stop throwing, Winston. But as a fun exercise, let's just take a look at the gameplay in the background, shall we? When Freeedo passed it on to me, he left me a few amusing notes about how he didn't play well, and Dhak was right to call him out. As we see, Freeedo is struggling to make an impact and quite often trading his life for the exact sum of nothing. Now this is where I have to raise the issue of the competitor's spirit while you continue watching him fail in the background. At this higher level of play, especially when talking about pros, their desire to win usually trumps everything else. That's why they're pros a lot of the time. They aren't like everybody else. Their competitive nature has driven them to become so accomplished at the game that they surpass the rest of us. And part of how they do that is by compartmentalizing the difference between the game right in front of them and their feelings. They are indisputably good at that level. They have no need to become offended or act offensively as if their character is being questioned. It's much more like the following clip from Dhak to Freeedo.
Alright, fuck. What is... Please, Freeedo. Please, stop throwing the game. Switch the monkey. I don't care if you have Hold Diva.
Please Freeedo, can you just stop throwing the game? He even says please. Now there are two possibilities here. Either Freeedo can listen and probably know what Dhak is saying is true anyway and swap, and this is what he actually does, or there's the much more likely reaction at lower levels, and that's treat what Dhak said as a bit toxic and get into some kind of flame dispute that could easily tilt the rest of their team into a loss. Every single one of you watching will have had games like that, where an argument breaks out, it's impossible to concentrate and everybody starts feeding like it's Thanksgiving. Now we'd like to assert that simply asking for a swap isn't a toxic act in itself, and that in most cases there simply isn't enough time to not be direct in your communication. That's a key factor here too, time. Some outcomes in Overwatch turn on a single moment. If a change is obviously needed, there is very little time to communicate that and even less time to accommodate any conciliatory tone for the sake of someone's feelings. Communication about a strategy or play that isn't working isn't toxic in itself. What is actually far more toxic is being asked to swap and then throwing the game through hissy fits. That's actually toxic. Letting your feelings completely take over while being quick to take offense will make you unstable and liable to tilt everyone else you're playing with. Here's the thing, we get it. Sometimes there are games and situations where someone is calling you out and it isn't your fault. This happens quite a lot to Liam when he's playing Tracer against Triple Tank, for example. People will call for him to swap even though he's the only one pressuring the enemy team's Ana. It can be frustrating and destructive to have someone call you out when you know you're getting value. But this is where you have to be a bit rational and take a step back. This is obviously way easier said than done, and I'm not going to pretend my reactions in that context have always been constructive. They haven't. There's definitely grey area. But let's look at today's example again. By the end, Freeedo has swapped off Winston onto Xayah and then onto Widow, and has actually made some impact plays. And listen to this.
Yo, Freeedo, good job. That's not Freeedo. Hold on, guys. Everybody.
I got Widow then.
His teammates even congratulate him, with Dhak even inquiring why he didn't just play Widow in the first place. They haven't held grudges, they haven't flamed him, and they just say well done. Their feelings are separate from the game in a way that makes the whole environment less toxic. Freeedo didn't whine, he didn't argue, he just analysed his own performance, saw the truth of what Dhak was saying and took steps to amend that. If in your games you take everything personally, flame or counter flame, then you are being a little toxic. Like I said, I'm not even going to pretend I haven't done this. I have many sometimes, and I'm sure I'll lose my composure at times in the future as well. But the truth is inescapable. These top players care less about their feelings and more about just winning the game. There's a lesson in that for everyone, including me. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. If you'd like us to talk about anything specific, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Also, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and streams. And if you'd like to see us tilt for your enjoyment live, please come over to our Twitch channel, which will be linked in the description. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time,